All right, welcome back. Close it now. Sam Wakefield here. This is part one of the Discovery Trilogy. So my question is, have you ever felt like some sales calls flow perfectly while others stall out, even though you said the same things? So this is what we're going to talk about, because basically it's not about luck. It's about the timeline of the appointment. So we're talking about timelines today, guiding the buyer through energy shifts and time perspectives. So we're taking a completely different look at your sales appointment today than you've probably ever heard, because these are important concepts to understand and to master to be able to, of course, close more deals at higher tickets. So in this episode, we're going to break down how the rhythm of time and energy turns discovery from awkward Q&A, awkward questions, where it turns it from an interrogation into the heartbeat of your close. So stick around. This is going to be fun. A couple quick announcements. One is, I don't know if you heard, yes, I do coach. I do private one-on-one coaching sessions. So plenty. Check out the testimony videos. You can go to the YouTube. There's a whole list of testimony videos. We have some incredible results, and I want you to have those same results. And also, I now have a financing option for that as well. So if you've ever thought that the cost of getting coaching from someone is too high, that investment in yourself is more than you're able to do, well, now I have news that it is super affordable, because the monthly is now less than the commission on one sale. So whatever you are, industry you're in, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, garage doors, whatever it is, I can help. And so reach out to me, Sam at closeitnow.net. We can talk about that, or go to closeitnow.net. You can check it out. Second thing, super quick. I'm sure you've heard there is a guerrilla market. If you haven't heard, I just wrote a guerrilla marketing guide for getting a consistent source of leads year round without spending a dime online. So if you would like a copy of that guide, I set up an automation because so many people were reaching out about it. You can go to door2doorinstitute.com. That's DOOR, the number 2, DOOR institute.com. And it pops right up. I put it on my website, so you can get your free copy immediately. And there's a bunch of other stuff on that website, but that is my free gift to you if you're listening. I want to help you win, especially in the off seasons and year round. If you have a consistent rhythm for being 5 Mile famous, being that local hometown hero, the companies that are winning across the country, across all of North America right now and around the world, are the ones that are going to business as if the internet didn't exist. Start there first, build your brand, work on your company, and then supplement with digital. Doesn't mean you don't have to have a website and all those things. Yes, those are important, absolutely. But what I'm saying is, instead of just throwing a crap ton of money at trying to buy leads on digital, there is a better, lower cost way. And then, you can do it together. But what it does, it makes your ad spend go so much further, because now people will know your name instead of just searching whatever it is near me, solar near me, roofing near me, HVAC near me. They're going to call your company by name when they start to look at it, because you're in the community now. So door2doorinstitute.com. That's DOOR, the number 2, DOOR institute.com, and get your copy of the Guerrilla Marketing Guide, how to have consistent flow of leads year round without having to spend a dime online. So that is my gift to everyone listening to this show today. And if you're joining me on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe. Otherwise, let's get into this content, because I'm ready to rock today. Like I mentioned, this is the Discovery Trilogy, part 1 of 3. I get a lot of comments and questions and requests about this, because discovery, it's something that everyone knows we should do, but most people don't know how to do, or definitely no one I've ever met goes deep enough into discovery as they should. So this is what this trilogy is about. So buckle up, Buttercup. This is going to be a fun one. All right. So let's frame this up a little bit. This is part one of the Discovery Trilogy. Today, we're going to map the flow of the appointment, because if you don't understand the rhythm, then, it becomes flat. So once you understand this rhythm, discovery won't feel like a checklist anymore. It's going to feel like a natural story arc, a natural conversation that your clients will want to follow. So here we go. Segment one. This is I think this is fun. Raise your hand if if you even know this name. If you ever used to listen to Paul Harvey, if you haven't, look him up. He was an excellent storyteller. To be good at sales, you have to be great at storytelling. So go back and look up, listen to some old Paul Harvey. Excellent storyteller. So he used to literally just say, okay, page one, page two, page three. And so that's basically, I kind of feel like Paul Harvey. I'm letting you know what the segments are. So, number one is the energy map. Here's what happens: the appointment moves in a rhythm. It wants to be positive, negative to positive. What, Sam, what do you mean by that? Well, so just imagine with me, a line, draw a line. You can use a piece of paper, use a whiteboard, whatever. Draw yourself a horizontal line on that paper and imagine that everything above the line is positive, that we're talking about positive energy, a positive conversation, and everything below the line is negative. It digs into frustrations and problems as we're talking about their current concerns, their current problems, all those things. That is a negative. So the reason that the arc is important is of course, back above line, we're talking about future problems, those kind of things. So in the flow of this, so now that we've got positive and negative defined, what the flow looks like, it's first, we're in positivity when we first get there. So introductions, agenda, rapport building, all those things, it's positive energy. Then what happens if you follow the arc properly, you're going to dip below the line and get into discovery, digs into frustrations, it digs into problems. What are you currently experiencing? What is it you don't like? All those types of things. So that is the negative part of the story arc of our appointment. And then number three is back above the line. So it's the solutions, it's the future vision, it is the agreement that this is the solution to what their problems were and what they are seeking today. So that's back to positive. So think of it like a movie plot. If there's no conflict, there's no payoff. In every great movie you've ever watched, there has to be so whoever's introduced, sometimes it starts with conflict and then goes back to the backstory, but there has to be some level of conflict to have a resolution. So if you never dip below the line, you never build contrast. If you stay there too long, you lose trust. So flow comes from guiding through both of those above and below the line intentionally, because we're not selling by chance, we are selling by intention. So this is why everything that we discuss is important. So let's get into the time conversation. So that's the energy map. Now we've got to overlay it with something else, because in every appointment, there's all of these different dynamics happening at the same time. So getting into the time conversation, what that looks like is your appointment is going to flow through time. I like to imagine it like this. Basically, I hope you've watched enough Marvel movies to know who Doctor Strange is. He plays with time. He gets to travel through time and do all these things. So we in our appointments, we're basically Doctor Strange, because what happens is, think about it like this: all we have is now. The moment, time is an illusion. It really is. Time is an illusion. Everything that happened even minutes ago, the first of this episode, everything that happened to you this morning, it's not happening now. It's just memory, because all we have is in the present moment. And anything in the future, so whatever your plans are later, it could completely change. So anything that's in the future is imagination. It hasn't happened yet, and at a moment's notice, it could change and never happen even. So, whatever your plans are, that's imagination. So, all we have is right now. So, our life is you've heard me talk about it like this. Your life is a combination of the habits that we do on a daily basis in the moment we're in. So, if you want to change the destination, you change your habits accordingly. So, in the context of a sales appointment, what's happening here is every time you enter into appointment, and this is a nutshell version of a sales conversation. It can be 30 seconds long, it can be 30 hours long. It doesn't matter. It has to follow this flow to get the proper conflict and resolution. So we start with the past. We start looking into the past. What has it been like? We're uncovering the pain and the problems and the concerns, all those types of things. So we talk about the past first, and then we take a snapshot of the present. It's like taking a Polaroid picture. What is happening now? It's just the actual in the moment. It's not good or bad. It's just is what it is right now. What is the current situation that's causing those problems? And then we turn around and we start looking into the future. So that is where once we've done our investigation, we've asked the questions, figured out the pain, then we take the snapshot. So that's the moment that you're taking your measurements. That's the moment that you're running your calculations. You're doing your manual J, you're doing your, square footage, whatever it is that you're measuring, that's when you're taking the snapshot of the actual. And then we look to the future, and that is where we are going to start to paint the picture of life the moment the solution is in place. So here's a easy example. And of course, whatever industry you're in, apply it to whatever the pain and the resolution looks like. But think about it like this. So, some verbiage example here. Man, you've been dealing with this for a while. So here's what's happening right now. But imagine tonight finally resting in a quiet, comfortable home. So we're starting to just very lightly paint that picture a little bit. And so what this is going to do, and I know I'm going through all this really quickly because your time is valuable. And so, what this does, it prevents delays. It creates real urgency, not artificial urgency, especially in the off seasons, because urgency is now tied to relief of their problems today, not someday. And so, if you can paint a good enough find the problems well enough and then paint a good enough picture, it doesn't matter what time of year it is, people are more likely, of course, to take action now, because if I understand that what I'm suffering with, what I'm dealing with, what I'm fighting will be resolved the moment the project is done, now I want to take action and take action immediately. So that's what happens there. Is this making sense so far? So we've got the energy map, positive, negative to positive, and we've got the time conversation, which is another layer on top of it. So it's past, present, future. And then the third piece that I want to talk about has to do with back to the energy map a little bit, the positive negative conversation that we were having. This is called widening the gap in sales. So, if you've studied sales to the degree that I have and read hundreds of books and gone to lots of courses, then you've probably heard this term. But for most of you, every single time I train people, they've never heard this. I think it's probably a classic example. Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar used to talk about this kind of thing a lot. But what it is the deeper you go into the pain of the present. And so think about it like this. If you're looking at your line, the deeper you're able to go in asking the questions and finding out how deep does their pain go? How emotionally connected to it are they, and how motivated are they to solve that problem? So once we know that, then we're able to paint the picture better and better and better of higher the relief of the future solution feels. This is it's creating the stack of value. This is your value stack. So hopefully, and if you haven't, there's when you listen to trainers, when you listen, people talk about sales, one of the things that so many people talk about is you have to add value. How do we add value? You've got to show value. The problem is most people don't explain exactly how to show value. Usually they say it's done by, hey, check out our reviews. We have all these reviews. Hey, we don't cut corners when we do our work, all those kind of things. That's not really the value stack. Again, that's expected. If you're showing up and you're telling them you're not going to cut corners, then that's expected. Good job. Yes, absolutely. But it's more than that. Because what happens is when we enter, because most people don't know what you do to the degree that you're able to do their improvement. If it's again, if it's HVAC or whatever it is, it doesn't matter because they think you're in that their pain is better than it is. Because most people get used to things. They will live with something way too long and because they are able to get used to these pains as they slowly increase, then what happens is they don't realize how bad their situation actually is. So it's your responsibility as a sales professional to step into their world and really pull back the curtain. We're not artificially inflating anything. And I don't want you to hear me wrong here. Don't hear what I'm not saying. What I'm not saying is we make stuff up, make things worse than it actually is, because there are plenty of people that do that. We're not talking about making something worse than it is. All we're doing is actually basically just showing them what reality is. So if somebody's living with a situation that their neighbors don't live with, but they don't realize it, they need to understand you don't have to live this way. You don't have to experience this over and over because most people don't. And when they start to understand that, they'll realize that where they thought their problems were, it's actually much lower than that. So that negative starts to go lower and the lower in on the spectrum relative to the neutral, relative to that neutral line that we drew. And then on the flip side of this, the other side of this same coin is most people think that where they're going to be able to improve to is only slightly higher than their perceived pain started out. So when we're able to make that pain reality of what's actually going on and show them that it's actually lower than where they thought it was, and then that little bit of improvement that they thought when you're able to paint the picture much better of what they're actually going to experience. Because you and I both know, we all know, whatever you do, it's so much better than what people expect it to be. I mean, raise your hand. How many times have you done a project for somebody and then they come back and say, "Oh my God, it's so much better than I thought it was going to be"? That's exactly what happens. Now, the better you get at painting the picture of what that experience is going to be like, now that positive, instead of being a slight improvement, now that improvement is higher and higher and higher. So then if you look at this compared to that original neutral line you drew in your paper, what's happening is the lower is much lower, the high is much higher. The distance between those 2 points, that is your value stack. And the minute that widening that gap, the minute that stack of value gets taller than their stack of dollars, it's no longer about price. So I want you to understand this concept. So here's another verbiage example. We'll get a little more granular with it. So something like, hey, right now your daughter can't sleep because her room is hot. Tonight she could be resting peacefully. That's the difference the solution makes. So just a simple expression like that helps them understand the real change that's going to happen, because it has nothing to do with the what. It has nothing to do with the equipment, nothing to do with the actual work. It has everything to do with how is it going to change their life. And when you start speaking in these terms, now what happens, your project is not the project for the sake of the project, it's the pathway. Projects are just the pathway to the true value is in the life change. The project is the pathway to the life change that they are looking for. So when you raise your communication to speak in these terms, I can tell you, I guarantee you, nobody else in your market is talking like this to homeowners. No one speaks like this in home improvement, or unless they're a top 1%er, then of course they understand this already. But until you get to this level, there's always going to be the price, the price comparison, all the things. But when you truly can communicate like this, magically, those objections start to disappear, or they're so much easier to overcome, because then all we have to do is remind them about the problems that they were wanting to solve and how bad it was, and then show them again, remind them again how much better it's going to be, and then invite them into your solution. So there is, so here's the emotional anchor that goes with it. We're reminding them they're not buying equipment, they're not buying products, they're not buying services, they're buying relief, they're buying comfort, they're buying safety, they're buying peace of mind. That is that's truly what they're after. It's never about the what, it's always about the why. So if you want some more on this, go back to the last episode, where why now is the tipping point. We've got to figure out what that tipping point is. So here's a quote for you. Sales is, of course, the transfer of emotion. If you're able to guide time and energy intentionally, then now we're able to transfer urgency and certainty, not hesitation. So sales is the transfer of emotion. If you guide time and energy intentionally, you transfer urgency and certainty, not hesitation. So let's recap this. It was a lot of info in a real short amount of time, so you may want to listen to this a few times. We covered the energy map. So we want to go from positive to positive so we can have some conflict and resolution. Number 2 is the time conversation. We're looking into the past, taking a Polaroid picture and a snapshot of the present, and then looking into the future to paint that picture. Number 3 is widening the gap. The deeper the pain and the higher the solution, the higher the immediate vision you're able to make in the solution, that makes value undeniable. So that is our episode for today. Stick around, watch next week for part 2, and we're going to get into how to actually run discovery with the right mindset and question flow. And then, of course, episode 3, we're going to get boots on the ground, and we're going to walk through exactly how to ask better questions in your discovery. So don't miss part 2 and don't miss part 3 of this trilogy. It is going to light you on fire and immediately be able to change your results, because now you're asking better questions. And the more we understand how a sales appointment should flow, and you can even do a messed up version of this. It's going to be better than anybody else around, and than what you're currently doing. The more you understand, better you understand it, it's going to improve every single step of the way. So that's what's coming in the next episodes. And as a reminder, if you want more doors to practice this with, get your free guerrilla marketing guide at door2doorinstitute.com. That's DOOR, the number 2, DOORinstitute.com. It's packed with campaigns you can launch today without blowing your budget. So if you've gotten value from this episode, make sure to share it with someone that you know could use this information, because it will change the way that they sell. Share it with your teams, share it with your friends, share it with your family. Play it for the dog. I don't care. Also, if you've ever gotten value from the Close It Now podcast, I would love a review. So in the show notes is the link directly. You can go leave me a Google review. I would love a Google review, 5 stars. And just search Close It Now on Google and leave me a review there. And also Apple Podcasts. Leave me a review on Apple Podcasts if you're listening on Apple. And I appreciate every single one of you. This is part of when the better you understand this, the better you're able to serve at the highest level, and you are turning into that professional that I know you want to be. And these are the steps to become someone worth buying from. I will see you next time, my friends.